Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus one more time, and I'm only here today because you're constantly on my mind. You're on my mind because for some strange reason I find myself feeling a connection with every last one of you. Something that perhaps I really can't explain, but the reality of it is maybe it has something to do with my beginning. You see, I guess there's some strange things that happens when strange things happen. I believe I'm the son of a child. In other words, my mother was, she was about 14 when she conceived me, and I was born somewhere very close thereafter. And I understand that I had a cousin that had a child at the same time, during the same time that I was born. And some of the things, the stories that she used to tell me is that, well, there were times when she would have her daughter on one breast and I would be on the other breast. I guess that was because she was a little older and she could do more than my mother could. So I got a chance to experience that love, that look, I'm being survived by another woman's breast. Happened to be my cousin, but it's someone else. A young kid brought me into the world. Here is another person feeding me. I ended up being raised in by one of the oldest people in the family at that time. She was my great grandparents. And this was way back in the day, ladies and gentlemen, back in the 50s. So you know that took me in Mississippi. That took me way back. And so that is still with me as I think about being raised by these older people and how much I see things so different than those of you who were raised by younger people. Is that a good thing, a bad thing? I don't know. That is to be determined. As we stand right now, whatever exists. It is what it is. But my message has constantly been to the point that it is change that is required, and the things that we are employing are not working, and as we think that we're progressing up, this thing is bigger than us. And I just took some notes, ladies and gentlemen, about some things I wanted to share with you. For instance, we are constantly talking about safety. We talk about putting cameras in every bus, putting cameras in every boxcar on the trains in our inner cities, on every street corner. Can you imagine? Police at every school, at every hospital, every business, bars on all the windows, bars on all the doors. What does that say about us? That say we're trusting in the wrong thing. We think that all of these bars are going to bring about what we're actually seeking. Have they worked for anyone? They haven't worked for anyone. And so for us to keep on following that, we must be doing it blindly, because it's not just happening. I mean, nature would just on its own turn us in a different direction. But see, nature is trying to do that. We're fighting against nature. But nature's going to win, I guarantee you. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm saying about it, all those cameras and stuff, and all those things we're calling for safety measures, they are an indication how we have failed as brothers and sisters one to another and in our understanding. This is January. In a few days, we're going to be honoring a young man who gave his life believing in something much more than what we believe in. His name was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. You know, they try to, for some strange reason, I don't truly understand it, he was so held in high esteem that they say he was a very eloquent speaker, for which you know I'm not. And that's but not an accident. We have another eloquent speaker, he's ex-president now, Barack Obama. Everybody says that boy could talk. I mean, he had it going on. Yet, we have a president today who's is in his efforts to make America great again, is willing to, while some might think that Dr. King's effort allowed them to and persuade others to pay a little bit more attention and help them with food supplies and needs. And, now this guy wants to cut that back, cut it off, you know. I think the program is called SNAP. They used to call it food stamp, but they say they want to cut it back. I don't know, you know, there's some strange things happening. They also said that they want to cut back on the health care benefit, those of you who are already sick. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm saying to you is this. This is not just happening. This is no incident. The fact that we are in the state that we're in today is not something that just happened. This stuff was planned. This is absolutely a step-by-step plan. Even the election and the put placing Donald Trump as president of the United States, it didn't just happen. It might have surprised the rest of us. It might have surprised the rest of us, which indicates how blind we were and still are. How blind we were and still are. That's why Donald Trump is still getting, everybody knows that he worked out this thing with Russia or supported it, worked against the United States and is still doing it. Everybody knows it. And yet, he is still standing up there like he has done nothing wrong and got a third of the nation agreeing with him. And all the laws that's supposed to be there binding individuals to follow, at least the dictates that they have been drawn out for America, he's laughing at them. But the rest of us, the little people, we have to be followed by him. We're going to jail every day for the same thing that he's doing. We're being victimized by certain activities that he's doing every day. And yet when some of us get away with it, but most of us don't. And he's laughing at it. So what does that say? I had to find some reason to talk to you about that, ladies and gentlemen. But I would like to ask you this. What do you, the people, want? We're talking about how we're being guided and marshaled on into this situation that we find ourselves in every day. But what is it that you, the people, want? And I'm not talking about what you say you believe that this person, talking about politics now, say they will do. What is it that you, the people, want? Do you want jobs? Do you want housing? Do you want food and clothing? Do you want education and health care? Of course, every last one of you do. Well, why can't you say it? You've been listening your whole life to people who said the same things, and they were going to do it for you. And ever since you've been voting, they've been lying. Some things come happen, but let's repeat. Even today, this 2020 election, people promising all of these same things that I just mentioned. Some people talking about how you're going to do it. You do it this way, you do it that way. And neither of the ways that they can tell you about it don't work. Neither of the ways that they can tell you about it don't work. Ask them to put it on a piece of paper. Ask them to put it on a diagram. Show us what they're going to do and what the effect of it is going to be. Ask them to put it up, and we'll choose. I mean, I won't, but at least it'll be clearer to you about what they're talking about. You can see at the end of all of their presentations, it won't work, because there's only one way, and I do mean one way. Yes, men got a lot of different ways, as many ways as there are men who want to call themselves alpha male. As many of those that exist, they got all of those ways, and they all gonna lead you to headaches and troubles, because it's fixed. And the only thing that isn't fixed is that which we don't have a hand in. So don't you think for 1 minute to think that these things in the world are just happening. We don't have what we say we won't, because what? Because you ever thought about that? Why don't we have what we say we want? We lie. Yes, we lie. We tell ourselves we are honest people. We're some of the biggest liars on earth. We're evil. You didn't think that, did you? You think you're good and kind. Oh yes, you're good and kind to some people. But overall, bottom line, we are evil. We're looking out for ourselves. That's what we've been taught. As I stated earlier, it's about reaching out there, grabbing. Reaching out, grabbing. How much can you get? What maneuvers you can exercise to manipulate and to take and to possess. Oh, I guess what I'm saying to you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to jump ahead of myself, is this. Is that all the systems of government, they might have had a good intent in the beginning. They might have had a good intent from the beginning. But there has been something that set in also from the beginning. And that was being number one. Outsmarting. Better. And all of them, everybody thinking that same thing. So you end up trying to con. And that big tool that's being used to psych us out is money. All the resources of the earth given by a power that we can't see. All the abilities to take from those resources whatever we want to make dreams come true has been given to us freely. And to know what it is and to have the opportunity to exercise it is the greatest joy that any of us can have. To know our purpose and to engage it. And as we engage it, I mean, it's like oil mixed with water. The oil gonna come to the top. It's gonna come to the top. So we engage ourselves, and what we give, it just rises straight to the top. And it's an absolute abundance. It can take care of the whole world itself. The United States of America could take care of the whole world itself if it exercised the basic principles of life that I've been telling you about ever since the past 30 years. But the other nation would be so jealous of it, they would want to know what it is that makes us shine so bright. And all we got to do is tell them the truth. We don't trust one another. We trust what we can't see. And that is, we call it God. At least God is made of that stuff, or hiding in it. But we allow that spirit to live inside of us. We allow it, the same spirit that allowed this young boy to have a cousin's breath to feed on, to have that same young boy, to have these old people raised, and to bring him up in a different way, the kind of way that he stands before the people today and say there's one thing. No man is above any other man. And the only exercise of that is to respect what you can't see. Because out of what we can't see came everything we do see. And if we can see peace and prosperity and freedom and joy and the fulfillment of our dreams in ourselves and in everybody else, if we can see that, then can it be? Yes, it can be. It was designed to be just that way. Resources given, resources given. Desire, want, reach in, come back, and it's there for everybody. But the deception is the man. Ladies and gentlemen, the man. Who is the man? The man is black. The man is white. The man is Asian. The man is everybody. Every man that sets up and puts himself above what he can't see. And every last one of them have failed. And so you the people, I know you spent your whole life, if you are just being born, you're being taught the basic principle, the concept of wherever you are born at. Or you can be so old you just on your deathbed, you going away, knowing the same thing. And it's so difficult for a person like me to stand before you and tell you that out of all of the problems that perhaps you don't even understand just yet, to all of the problems that you've lived through and still don't understand, the solution has been trusting in what you can't see. Knowing what you want. And if you know what you want, and if what you want is legitimate, like joy, fulfillment of dreams, not just for yourself but for everyone else, and is willing to participate in the creative process of that outcome. Oh, it's very simple. It might not be as simple as you're thinking in your head right now. You're probably thinking that it's so simple that I must think you're crazy to even believe that you could see something in that. Oh, it's involved, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not trying to make it seem like it doesn't or it isn't. It is definitely involved. But when you, the people, say that every American will have housing, not must, but will. When you say that they'll have access to whatever is required to satisfy them in their dwelling, when you say that, it will happen. When you say that they will have a career, the kind that they choose, when you say that, then that will happen. Everybody will be working. Everybody will be having housing. Everybody will be having food, because part of the working process is producing food. They'll have everything they need. Education, healthcare, all of these things. That's the fruit of following what we can't see, because this is what we want. And if we want that for ourselves, we have to respect any other man, and every other man wants that for themselves. And the truth of the matter is, if one person can be denied it, then every last one of you should be denied it. But until you recognize that, you keep tossing and turning amongst yourselves, going this way and going that way, believing this and believing that, and ain't getting nowhere. But when you can recognize that if one suffers, then a whole lot of you are entitled to suffer. Even if you don't, you're entitled to. And if you don't wake up somewhere in your line of life, you're going to suffer it. But to be blessed, how the hell do you wake people up like this? God Almighty, you take a miracle. Woo! It will absolutely take a miracle. And yet, the only thing I can say to you is that heaven is right here. All you got to do is reach out, and it's there. All you got to do is, as I just shared with you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure that there might be those of you who understand what I'm saying, but even can see it much clearer than I have been able to articulate it. It would be great if you could, or was led to, use some media force to get that word around. I sure would appreciate it. I'm sure love would appreciate it. And we, the human race, will be most grateful. The only ones that would be upset in the beginning are those who want to be God. And when they realize the power of the true God that will be exhibited through us, then they themselves will be embarrassed that they even thought about it, and would praise God to have an opportunity to walk with the true God. I want to thank you so very much, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if I got anything worthwhile to you, but I feel better. I have made some notes on several things, and as you know, when I get to talking, I get to talking. I had one page I was going to talk to you about. I ended up writing two, and I didn't even go on the second page. But anyway, I got a chance to say some of those things. I'm sure I hit it on every subject. And again, I want to thank you so very much for giving me this your time. This is and has been Eddie Marcus. And until next time, goodbye.